At the Denning Pharmaceutical headquarters, former employee John steps into the elevator and opens his suitcase, revealing a gun. On the executive floor, he swiftly takes out several higher-ups before returning to the reception area, where he encounters the police. John declares somebody had to do something, and then takes his own life. Following this, news outlets report that Denning Pharmaceutical is about to launch a new medication, which is on the verge of receiving FDA approval despite causing deadly side effects that have already claimed 3 lives. As a result, the company is facing a significant lawsuit, and its stock prices are plummeting, prompting them to eliminate all incriminating evidence. A key attorney named Alan decides to take on the case against the company, a decision that could have a profound impact on his career. He assigns legal assistant Tom to handle the paperwork, and on Monday, Tom must update his keycard before entering the office, as they are reset every weekend. With John being their crucial witness and now lost, Tom suggests to Alan that they should include heart attack victims in the pharmaceutical case, but Alan prohibits him from doing so, arguing that minor victims are not financially beneficial. Later, Tom is summoned to another boss's office to discuss the Gambitsi crime family case. He had sent a memo expressing his desire to join that case, but his boss tears it up and reprimands Tom for not focusing on his current cases. Afterward, Tom heads to the file room to store the file that Alan rejected. His girlfriend and co-worker Anna drops by for a few secret kisses. A few hours later, Alan informs everyone that due to server issues since last night, they can all go home. Just as Tom is about to leave, Alan confronts him about a serious error regarding the memo he submitted earlier, resulting in Tom's termination. In the elevator, Tom finds himself accompanied by a stranger he has never seen before. As they arrive at the reception, a man sets down a suitcase on the floor, which another individual picks up before heading to the elevator as well, raising Tom's suspicions. After noting the floor the man has chosen, Tom attempts to follow him, but finds that his keycard has already been deactivated. He tries to exit, but spots the stranger waiting outside, which makes him anxious, prompting him to request the guard to enable the elevator for him. Once he reaches the office, Tom surveys the area and is surprised to find his co-worker Roger at his desk for an unknown reason, so he asks Roger to let him in. Roger's odd behavior catches Tom's attention, especially when he notices a file he had previously stored on the desk. Growing increasingly suspicious, Tom activates his phone to record and conceals it within a pencil holder. Continuing his search, he stumbles upon the enigmatic man tampering with the power box. A lawyer approaches the man, demanding to see identification, clearly skeptical of his claim to be maintenance. When the lawyer attempts to call for verification, the man pulls out a gun and shoots her. As the murderer drags the body away to conceal it, Tom hurries to the bathroom, opening a stall to find the security guard's lifeless body. When he checks on the guard, the toilet sensor triggers a flush, prompting Tom to quickly shut the door and climb onto the toilet to hide. Shortly after, the killer enters, washing the blood from his face while conversing with the corpse, mentioning the need for the keys. Just in time, Tom manages to slip into the adjacent stall by crawling under the wall, right before the killer retrieves the keys, gun, and radio from the body. In a desperate attempt to remain hidden, Tom climbs onto this toilet, nearly triggering the flush again, but fortunately, the killer flushes his toilet first, failing to hear Tom's movements. Then the murderer shatters the radio and departs to disable the fire sprinkler before entering the file room, where he sets up some explosives. Meanwhile, Tom hurries to the break room and encounters Roger, informing him about the killer before they dash into the elevator. Unfortunately, it's out of order, so they sprint down the hallway and attempt the emergency exit. However, the killer has already damaged the bar, rendering it impossible to open, leaving them trapped. They head back to the main area and try to access the reception computer, but the internet is down. Tom realizes the killer is approaching, prompting the pair to hide, but the killer notices the computer has been accessed and grows suspicious. After unplugging it, he enters the desk area, revealing he possesses a keycard. Once he's out of view, the duo emerges from their hiding place to brainstorm their next move. Tom grabs Roger's keycard and unlocks the door to the executive offices, discovering Alan inside, and sends Roger to retrieve his phone and call the police. As Tom activates the lock, he accidentally drops his jacket, which gets caught in the door. While Tom searches for Alan, Roger makes his way to his desk and uses his phone to call his wife. However, before he can share any details, the killer finds him and forces him to say everything is alright. Tom witnesses this through the window and rushes to the break room to grab a knife. After Roger hangs up, the killer pulls out his gun and inquires if anyone else is working late. Roger deceives everyone by claiming he's alone, prompting the killer to seize a cable and begin choking him, all captured on Tom's phone. When Tom returns, he finds the desk empty. He attempts to dial 911, but his phone dies. After plugging in the charger, he surveys the office and discovers Roger's lifeless body slumped in his chair. Just then, the killer reappears and spots the jacket by the door, leading Tom to snatch Roger's keycard and swiftly conceal himself in the closet, where he is taken aback by the sight of the lawyer's corpse. Meanwhile, the killer starts dragging Roger's body while making a phone call, expressing frustration that no one was meant to be up there. Suddenly, Tom's phone gains enough charge to ring. The killer investigates, dismisses Anna's call, and stumbles upon the video of his crime. He quickly deletes it and checks the settings, finding Tom's name and photo. Realizing this belongs to the jacket's owner, he calls out for Tom, but Tom remains hidden beneath a desk. Once the killer departs, Tom dashes into another office and ignites some paper in an attempt to trigger the fire alarm, but it fails to work. Out of the blue, Tom spots someone in an office across the street, so he intensifies the flame in the trash can and pushes it against the curtains to create a real fire. This catches the neighbor's eye, and Tom gestures for him to call for help. Unfortunately, the killer catches a whiff of smoke, grabs a fire extinguisher, and rushes to the scene. Tom sees him and flees before the killer enters to extinguish the flames, then pretends to be on the phone to dissuade the neighbor from calling for assistance. Minutes later, Tom reaches the reception area and uses the computer to generate a new keycard. The killer nearly discovers him, but Tom quickly puts the computer to sleep and hides under the desk. After the killer leaves, Tom resets all the locks, rendering the killer unable to access the office. Afterward, Tom switches off most of the lights in the building and hurries to Alan's office, only to find him engaged in conversation with a woman. At that moment, the killer shoots the office lock, prompting Tom to conceal himself behind the door. The man appears to know Alan, but when the woman pulls out a gun, he swiftly kills her. He then takes her weapon and departs, instructing Alan to remain in his office. Once they are alone, Tom inquires about the woman's identity, and Alan discloses that she is affiliated with the Gambizzi crime family. She was meant to testify against her husband, leading Alan to speculate that the killer was dispatched by the mafia to silence her. Suddenly, they hear a strange noise and realize the killer is attempting to break into the file room by striking the door with an axe, but it's futile since it's made of reinforced steel and bulletproof glass. Afterward, Alan and Tom attempt to flee, but must conceal themselves when they hear the killer approaching. The man arrives with the janitor and mimics his voice, urging Tom to come out or face death. Suspicious, Tom questions what nickname the killer always used for the janitor, and it's clear the killer doesn't know, leading Tom to deduce that the janitor is already dead. Next, the criminal reactivates the elevators, trying to lure them out. Alan and Tom cautiously check the corridor and discover the janitor's body along with a note that reads, "You win." Just then, they hear a phone ringing and rush to the desk, only to be stunned when Tom sees his own number calling. Alan suspects it's a trap and attempts to escape, resulting in the killer shooting him in the arm. The duo begins to run away, with the killer in hot pursuit, firing at them continuously, forcing them to hide in an office where they can secure the door. This one lacks reinforcement, allowing the criminal to use an axe to break it down. By the time he catches up, they are already entering the file room. Tom tries to use the killer's phone to call for help, but it is locked with a password. The man still has Tom's phone, which doesn't have a pin, so he texts Anna to come over. Eager to help, Tom comes up with a plan and starts using the copy machine. At the entrance, the killer lets Anna in and holds her at gunpoint, demanding her phone to destroy it. Just then, Tom shows up and suggests a trade, the keycard for Anna. The killer is doubtful until Alan arrives to negotiate. Once the gun is lowered, Alan takes the card to the criminal, who then releases Anna but pulls out the guard's gun. Alan pushes him to save Anna, but the killer retaliates by punching him and dragging him to the file room, where he complains that Alan didn't clear the office, suggesting they were in collusion. After the killer activates the explosives, Tom arrives with the gun, only to discover the criminal has all the bullets. Alan seizes the chance to escape, and the door slams shut, trapping the killer inside the file room. He tries to leave with the keycard, but it doesn't work because Tom had given him a fake one made with the copy machine. Suddenly, the explosives go off, setting the file shelves on fire. The killer struggles to put it out, but fails and loses consciousness from the smoke. Then Tom enters, discards the gun, and puts out the fire by knocking over the shelves. At that moment, the killer wakes up and attacks Tom, leading to a fierce struggle. The man quickly gains the upper hand, and when Anna tries to help, she only gets punched. Tom takes advantage of the distraction to hit the guy, and after they both fall, Alan arrives and shoots the killer. Before he dies, the man exhales the numbers 11 to 22, prompting Tom to pull the keys from his pocket. As Anna uses the keys to activate the elevators, Tom heads back to the desks and finds the case file, revealing that the pharmaceutical company intended to erase all evidence. He then enters 11 to 22 into the killer's phone, unlocking it to expose Alan's phone number. It becomes evident that Alan was paid by the pharmaceutical company to undermine the case, leading him to hire the man to destroy the files and eliminate Roger. Alan claims that corporations are a bigger threat than the mafia and tries to bribe Tom, but Tom refuses the money and leaves with the file. Fearing arrest, Alan decides to take his own life. Shortly after, the police arrive, prompting Tom to quickly escape with Anna before they are seen. In the file room, the copy machine is producing thousands of copies of the case evidence. A police officer discovers this, and it turns out he is the one who left the gun for the killer. The officer notices Tom's phone in the killer's hand and immediately calls a hitman to track down Tom and ensure his silence.